And I understand someone like Nick Recato would respond by saying, well, that's not real libertarianism. Okay, so then the people who say that the Soviet Union or Mao Zedong's China are not real communism, are they suddenly right now? Hello everyone, I've got 3 different stories for you today. First off, a base Peter Griffin stands up to the Killstream. Secondly, a follow-up to my video from a week ago about the state of California bribing homeless people. Finally, I'm going to talk about another California news story. Prison inmates in Los Angeles are intentionally infecting themselves with coronavirus to get released from prison. A Canadian man who calls himself the People's Populist Press has declared all-out war on Ethan Ralph's The Killstream. As far as I can tell, The Killstream is the only right-wing late-night show that's ever existed, at least in my lifetime. There are an endless number of these things on the left: Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Bill Maher, John Oliver. But when it comes to the right, The Killstream is about it. So I've always asked the question, given the fact that we've got this one late night right-wing show, why does it seem to be entirely run by people who are libertarians? Now, I understand why the Republican Party is full of libertarians. It's called corruption. So why is it that the one right-wing show, the show that's supposedly too edgy that it's been banned off of YouTube because we live in a terrible society that discriminates against conservatives, why is it that all of the personalities that regularly appear on that show are libertarians? While we're getting served up free market ideology from shyster attorney Nick Recato, the wealthy institutions in this country, monopolized multinational corporations, investment banks, and hedge funds are lobbying our government to give them $5 trillion bailouts. Because money talks and bullshit walks, economic libertarianism inevitably ends up in a system that is basically communism for the rich. And I understand someone like Nick Recato would respond by saying, well, that's not real libertarianism. Okay, so then the people who say that the Soviet Union or Mao Zedong's China are not real communism, are they suddenly right now? And of course, what could be more right-wing than Dick Masterson going on the Killstream and talking about his degenerate sex life? The United States has the highest number of broken families in the world. No other country has as many broken families as the United States. And on a conservative show, they're going to platform some guy whose entire shtick is how many different women he sleeps with. That's not conservative. It's libertarian. If all of this weren't bad enough, the quality of the show has gone down. Ethan Ralph, the quote, owner and editor of the Ralph Retort, has repeatedly embarrassed the right-wing movement and hurt his own show with his rampant alcoholism. You would think that after getting so blackout drunk that you end up getting sent to prison because you fought a police officer, an event you can't even remember, would be enough of a wake-up call to quit drinking. If that's not hitting rock bottom, what else is? Eating a hamburger out of a trash can? Getting absolutely destroyed in a debate with Vosh? It's hard for me to think of something more embarrassing than that. So I look at this PPP guy, the People's Populist Press, as a long overdue breath of fresh air. I can't tell you how refreshing it is to see an honest Christian, Trump-supporting populist call the Killstream out on its bullshit. The right deserves a real conservative late-night show, one that isn't run by a bunch of drug and sex addicts who are too afraid to call out the United States for what it's become, corporate communism. So this can only really end one way. PPP and Ethan Ralph are going to fight each other. Blood sports with actual blood. A lot of the details are still up in the air, like where is the fight going to take place? And is Ethan Ralph going to be able to cover up his weird stomach with a shirt? I personally welcome this new development. Moving on, I talked about in a video a week or so ago about California's plan to bribe the homeless. Let's take a look at what I said. A footlong sandwich? Are you kidding me? You're telling me that the city of Los Angeles couldn't at least shell out for a Jersey Mike's or a Jimmy John's? You're seriously gonna offer Subway footlong sandwiches? This isn't going to work. Like I predicted, trying to bribe homeless people to get tested for coronavirus by giving them footlong Subway sandwiches was inevitably going to fail. Now, the point I was trying to make in that video was the government officials in California should stop acting like a bunch of giant pussies. Actually govern people. Force these homeless people to go into drug rehab. These people need to quit using drugs and learn to take care of themselves. They don't need free footlong sandwiches from Subway. Well, it's now being reported that California officials have changed tactics. Instead of bribing people with sandwiches, they're giving them actual drugs. In exchange for the homeless agreeing to be tested for coronavirus and to stay confined in hotel rooms, California officials are now giving these people illegal drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. To the extent that these California officials are giving scheduled narcotic drugs to drug addicts, I would argue that they're committing crimes and they should be in prison. But this is what California is doing. The idea that California government officials would order a drug addict to attend a drug rehab program is so unthinkable that they'd rather break federal law by giving drug addicts drugs in order to gain their compliance during a public health emergency. One of the slimiest arguments that leftists make is that in the United States, we criminalize drug addiction and mental health problems. Rather than the state using its resources to help these people, we prosecute them. Of course, the reality is that the reason we do that isn't because of conservatives, it's because of the left. In 1975, the left-wing activist Supreme Court reached a decision in O'Connor v. Donaldson. That decision indicated that state and local governments cannot do anything to help people with mental health problems or drug addictions without first convicting them of a crime. The leftist mentality was that these people with drug addictions and mental health problems were oppressed by these mental hospitals that treated their conditions. These people needed to be liberated from these institutions. So that is why the United States criminalizes mental health. It's why it criminalizes drug addiction, because the liberal Supreme Court indicated that that was the only acceptable way to deal with these types of problems. Remember in the new Joker movie when Arthur is talking to a social worker and he brings up the fact that he used to be in a mental hospital? He suggests that things were better for him back then. Perhaps he would be better off if he were currently living at a mental hospital like he was in the 70s. And the answer is of course he would. People with mental health problems need to be surrounded by other people who are going to help them. People who are drug addicts need support from other people to beat their drug addiction. But go ahead, California, keep coddling these homeless people. Keep giving them drugs and alcohol and let the problem just continue to get worse and worse. Serve as yet another example that all of the people working in government today are nothing but a bunch of cowards. The final thing I wanted to talk about is new surveillance footage shows that California prison inmates are intentionally infecting themselves with coronavirus in hopes of getting out of prison. This will allow them to be deemed infected with the coronavirus, which means California's prison will release them. If you had the choice between serving 10 years in prison or getting sick with a disease for 2 weeks that you have a 98% chance of recovering from, what would be the rational decision you would make? It's amazing how quick everyone's response to the coronavirus was we need to immediately empty out all of the jails and prisons. Release all these convicted felons back into the community, because clearly that makes the most sense from a public health perspective. Of course, none of these government officials ask themselves basic questions like, are people incarcerated in prisons more or less likely to get affected with the virus? Because I actually did the math in a video I posted a week or so ago. And in the state of New York, if you were a prisoner, you were 30 times less likely to get coronavirus than if you were not locked up. Now, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is willing to release this video and say, look at this, look at what's happening. But I don't see any of California's public officials changing the policy that prisoners infected with the virus are released. If the goal is to prevent people from getting infected with coronavirus in the prisons, then you wouldn't want to create a massive incentive for people to intentionally infect themselves. That would be bad public policy. That wouldn't achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. But you know what? It's just par for the course for California, the worst run state in all of the 50 United States. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for this video. If you enjoyed the video and you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe.